today I'm taking a look at the Colami Big and Tall Office Chair, and if we take a look at this thing, this is a gigantic chair. It said that it was 21 inches wide, but it's actually 22 inches wide, which for me is perfect. Now we can't see my legs do kind of fit underneath the armrests a little bit, but even if I try to stand up and sit down on this thing, I am not rubbing on those armrests. So this is a perfect width for me. I'm 6'3", 400 pounds, so if I can fit in this thing, pretty much anybody's gonna be able to fit in this thing. But the cool thing about it is that you can actually remove these, so there's just one bolt underneath and this thing will pop off. So even if you're wider than me, you can actually just take these things off and you'll still be able to fit in here, which is actually one of the things that I really like about this chair, because a lot of the other chairs that I've dealt with that I actually really liked, except for the armrests are too narrow. They're so narrow that I end up actually sitting on top of the armrests. For those chairs, they actually bolt onto the seat and then bolt onto the armrest, but you can see with this one, the back is completely independent. So you can take these off, it will not affect the chair at all. The only thing these are for is just for resting your arms, which is exactly what they're supposed to be for. They don't have the articulation that you get out of some armrests where they can like rotate in and out and forward and back and do all that fun stuff. I actually prefer this style because sometimes I want to rest my arm, and if I do that on those articulating arms, like it'll just slip off and break my concentration, especially if I'm trying to really focus on what I'm working on. I don't want to have this thing that can manipulate. On top of that, if I need to give myself some extra support for standing up, I can do that with this. I don't have to worry about these things flopping around on me. So I actually prefer this solid style. Now this chair currently is actually in its most compacted state, except for the arms. They can actually go up and down. I prefer having them up high just because I'm tall, so this allows me to actually rest my arms on them, which is something that not all chairs with armrests can do. But what you can also do, there's a couple levers on here. So on the left, there are two levers. The one in the back allows me to scoot the seat forward and backward. So that allows me to sit further back so that my legs are more supported. So depending on how tall you are, that may or may not affect you. For me, that's actually incredible. Like I feel like I'm being cradled right now. Now the other thing is the backrest can also go up. So it's on a ratcheting mechanism. So it goes up to the top spot, and then if you keep going up, it'll reset and drop back down to the bottom. So you can have this low. If you want to have more upper support, you can do that. So as a tall guy, like this actually makes me feel small, which is a very unusual thing to have, especially with an office chair. The biggest office chairs that I find, they're still not as good as this. What this one also has, it has that mesh back. I really like the leather office chairs just because of mostly the size, so they're very comfortable. They're also plush, but they do make your back sweat. These mesh backs are actually a lot nicer. But it also has the cushioned bottom. So you can see this cushion down here. A lot of the mesh chairs, they have a piece of plastic that runs along the bottom, and then my leg sits on top of that and becomes very uncomfortable. So this has the best of both worlds. We got the mesh back and we got the cushion bottom. And this is a nice plush comfy bottom on here. Like this feels great. I feel like when I'm sitting on this thing that they designed this chair for me, because this has literally everything that I'm looking for. So the other flap on the left, that is a lock. So if I don't want to recline, I can pull that up and it locks. If I push it down, then it unlocks. Now, I really like that flap style just because it actually locks, whereas most of them, they got that lever on the side that also acts as the piston handle. I find that those things can kind of slip in and out, so sometimes when I'm expecting to have support, I don't, and then I just end up falling back and I feel like I'm going to fall out of my chair. And then sometimes when I want to be able to recline, I'll find that it's actually locked in, and then that becomes jarring. So this is a better style in my opinion. We also have on the right, we've got another lever. So this is for that piston. If we want to raise it up, we can do that. And then we got a tension knob that we can use to make this more or less stiff. So I prefer having that about as tight as I can get it just because I'm a pretty heavy boy. I think the lighter you are, the less stiff that you're gonna want it, but I have mine all the way up. Assembling this thing was super easy. You can see there was 5 bolts. It came with an Allen and we had 2 spares. I had this thing set up in about 5 minutes. Like it takes no time at all. And the other thing is it just feels extremely well made. Like when I'm standing up or sitting down, I don't hear it making any noises. It doesn't feel like it's rocking back or forth. Like I said before, this thing feels like it's cradling me. And on top of that, I really like how wide this thing is. Most mesh office chairs, they do not go out that wide. This feels like a king's chair that happens to be a mesh chair. So I've tried a lot of mesh chairs. Most of them are really uncomfortable for me, or they just don't feel strong enough for me. This is one chair that I feel very comfortable in. And it's kind of deceiving, especially with me sitting in this thing. This is a much larger chair in person than it looks like when I'm sitting in it. I consume most chairs. This is a very big chair, especially for a mesh chair. So yeah, I am very happy with that.